Welcome to the mobile studio. First time we've been here. But let's take a look at titles in Resolve. Titles are actually pretty easy and kind of deceptively easy. So here we have a project where I have just some example shots of the recent trip to Alaska. I kind of want to put some titles in here and sort of highlight what's going on. So normally this is the view that you have. You have your media and you're assembling things over here. Maybe you've got your two preview windows here. But we'll go ahead and leave the inspector up, and I'm going to close the media pool and open the effects tab. And in the effects tab, there are lots and lots of options. But right now, we're just going to look at titles. So again, there are lots and lots of options. And one of the things to highlight here is that when you put your mouse over a title, it will show you what that title is going to look like. You also see that there's titles at the top and then Fusion titles. What are Fusion titles? Well, Fusion titles are titles that use the Fusion engine inside Resolve, and they usually do some fancy things. You can see this one fades in a little bit. Black border you can't see. Call out. I think that, yeah, there we go. That has a animated little line. So as you move your mouse over from the beginning of the title name to the end, it'll give you a preview of what's going to happen, which is pretty handy, actually. Now, these Fusion titles take a fair amount of resources, as Fusion does. So if you're working on a machine that's not that hot, you probably don't want to use them or not use them much. So we're going to go back up to the regular ones here, and you see how it kind of places them in different spots. Gives you a scroll, so you can do titles, like at the end credits, that kind of thing. Then there's text, and then text plus. What's the difference? Well, text plus gives you a few more options, a lot more animation controls and that kind of thing. And I believe it also uses Fusion. So we're going to focus for the moment just on text, because you can do a lot with it. So to put a title into your project, you just drag it down just like you would a clip. And just like a clip, you can add transitions. And you can use the little fade handles. And if you look at it over here in the inspector, you see that this box here comes up and you can change the title. So we're going to change it to far, far away, ... And just like pretty much any word processor, you have the same set of controls. You can change the size of it. Whoa, a little too big, a little too big. There we go. You can change the color. Let's change it to green. No, let's not. Let's undo that. However, one of the things that you can do is you can take a part of the text, highlight it, and just change that. And we'll change far, far, and we'll change away to maybe, yeah, for example. You can also change everything else about it. You can change just the size of just that one. You can kind of get a lot of variation out of it, just with the text tool. I'll undo all that and go to the settings tab right here, where you have your normal transform controls. So I want this to go all the way to the edge and then down a little. Far, far away. So what I'm doing there is I'm putting the white text inside the dark part of the runway. It's white enough that it shows up over the whole image, but to me that looks better. Now, let's have a look at it. Far, far away. And then it fades out. Now, what I want this to do is to grow just a little bit. And I'm going to do that with the transform tool keyframes animation. So I'm going to start somewhere near the beginning here. And I can start right at the beginning. And I'm going to set the zoom keyframe and the position keyframe by hitting these little diamonds. Then I'm going to go towards the end. And I want it to zoom in. So I'm going to grab the zoom. And you see how the diamond turns red here to show that you formed a new keyframe. And as I make this a little bit larger, you notice that the dot, dot, dot sliding off to the side. So I can also change the position, and you see that sets a new keyframe as well. But I needed to be before the fade at the end. That's why I'm here. So I can see what I'm doing as I'm adjusting the zoom. Now I want that to actually be at the end, because if I leave it here, it'll stop zooming and then fade out, which maybe that's what you want. But I want it to zoom all the way through the fade out. So I'm going to hit this little icon here, and you see the first keyframe and the second keyframe. I can drag those all the way to the beginning and all the way to the end. So now, far, far away, growing ever so slightly, fading out. And I'm going to hit this little keyframe icon to make that go away. Now, let's soldier on. Let's grab another text here, and I want to find a good spot for it. That's actually not too bad a spot. I want it maybe here. We'll start it right. I'm using the arrow keys to move right now, frame at a time. There you go. We'll start it right there. Basic title. We'll go into our title settings here, and isn't far away, dot, dot, dot. Okay, I want dot, dot, dot at the beginning too. Dot. Isn't far away. Now again, we'll use our settings to drop it down a bit. And I think I'm going to animate it this... No, I'm not going to animate it yet, because I have one more part coming up. So, isn't far away. There we go. I know this scene changes right there, so I'm going to go ahead and resize this just like you would a normal clip. And I'm going to grab another text, and we're going to change that title to When You Are There. Now, if you want to, you can, just like a text editor, add carriage returns, new lines, that kind of thing. There are also, do you want it to align this way, align that way? Let's go ahead and align it left. I think I have a space in there that I don't actually need. There we go. Now that lines up. Go ahead and I'm going to change the text size here. When you are there. Good enough. Now we go into our settings, and we're going to take our X, move it over, and Y, move it down, because I don't want to interrupt the show of the village. Now, I can animate these so that I know how long they're going to be. So here we go. Isn't far away. When you are there. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just use Command T. It would be Control T, I believe, to put a transition there. So that's going to fade. I don't actually like that. So I'm going to get rid of that, put a slight space between these two, and then fade them individually. And we'll fade this one in and see if that's long enough. Isn't far away. When you are there. All right. So we can fade that one out as well. And let's get our animation going here. So we'll go into our, I don't want the transition, I want the video, like treating it like a clip. We're going to go ahead and set our transform keyframes, move it to the beginning. And then as we get towards the end here, we're going to want this to be a little bit bigger. And centered is fine. So we'll just leave it there and move that keyframe over. Isn't far away. When you are there. And I think I want this to start larger and shrink. So we'll go ahead and set those keyframes. Move the keyframe over to the beginning. And as we get to the end, we'll shrink it. And position looks good. Now have a look. Isn't far away. When you are there. Now, there's more that can be done with these titles, and all kind of stuff here. So it's a drop shadow that you can add. You can add a background. Oh, you can add a stroke around the edge, so you can, which I find pretty handy. It looks pretty formal when you do that, but if there's a variety of colors in the background, that the white and the black, in this case, default will make it stand out a little bit more, which can be, that's one of the things you run into with titles, is that you need it to be readable, and depending on what video it's going over, it can sometimes not. So play around with those. There's a lot of controls there, and, I don't want to go into them all. But I also want to go ahead and disable these guys and show you the transfusion ones. So we just spent a bunch of time doing fades and animations. Let's go ahead and find, I think it's called the fade on fusion title. Sample text. Far away. And then just like the other one, you've got the controls here. You tend to have fewer controls with the Fusion ones, but yeah, more controls in Fusion if you dare to dive in there. We'll go ahead and move this down like the other one. Settings. Down and over a little. And then, not only does it fade in, but there's this little blur effect that comes with it. And then fade grows a little and fades out all by itself. A whole lot less work that you have to do manually. So if your computer can handle it, why not? There are a whole bunch of these, and some of them are pretty darn flashy. So depending on what kind of production you're doing, you may want that. Try them. Try a bunch of them. Just spend some time going through them and finding out what they do, because each one is going to have slightly different controls. It's a quick look at titles. It's pretty easy. It's pretty fast. It's one of the ways that modern nonlinear editors really shine, because you could edit right in the program. It's very simple. You just have to do this with images and animating images, that kind of stuff. It's wonderful to have this built into the program. Thanks for coming along. We'll see you next time.